Well, welcome to our next edition of Inside the Industry. And we have our guest, Marcie Strouse, back again with us, co-owner and producer of Capital Benefits Group. Welcome, Marcie. Good to have you.
Thank you.
We are excited. Today we're talking about associations. And I know you've been a part of many different associations over the years. Which ones have you been a part of related to health and Medicare and group benefits?
I'm a longtime member of NABIP, which used to be NAHU, and so I've been involved in that many years. That's probably, for me, the industry association is probably the most meaningful specific to the healthcare side of things. I also work really closely with NFIB, and I sit on the leadership council here in Iowa for NFIB, and NFIB is an association for small employers. And so for me, working in that space, that's been really important for me to understand, put a different hat on, and maybe be thinking about tax issues when typically am so focused on healthcare issues. So that's been good. I also have had interaction with a women's organization called NABO here locally. So I think for me, it was just trying to make sure that I'm finding ends with things that really are impacting the business and can give me a little bit more of that professional development.
Awesome. So you've been involved with these associations from both a federal and a local state chapter. What is the difference you've seen, and what are the things you get into in those different chapters versus the national that you could share with us?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think sometimes it's a little bit easier locally to get involved because you can show up at a council meeting, you can show up at an actual hearing at the state capitol, and just get in there and be a part of those experiences and what's happening. For me, I think that these associations have just given me the knowledge really of what I am talking about. So of course I am day to day dealing with these issues with our clients, but sometimes there might be something that maybe I am not working as much in that definitely still has some sort of an impact on healthcare and on the industry. And so I really leverage those relationships through the association to make sure that I am fully educated on anything that I might be having a conversation about. Typically, the associations that I work with, so NABIP in general, they would have webinars that are going on. So specific to like regulatory changes that are happening, they have their podcasts to get in. There's so much communication out there, but then not only that, there are additional certifications that you can do. So it does give you a very wide range of that professional development side of things. So for us, like I said, we kind of have like in NABIP, just in general, again, there are different regions. So for Iowa is the region 4. And so we are essentially part of Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas are part of our association. And so we work really closely with those states, those neighboring states, because what might be happening in Minnesota could definitely have a direct impact on maybe legislation that comes up during the session in the state of Iowa or other states. And so we do rely on those relationships a lot to make sure that we're staying in communication to know what's going on, not just in our state, but in other states. And then federally, I mean, having opportunities to go in and talk to Congress and testify and do those types of things. I've had some of those opportunities through NFIB from that small employer perspective, which again, it's just advocating on behalf of not us as just agents, which we need to do, but also for our clients. I mean, we've got to get their voice to them so that they recognize the challenges that we're facing in this healthcare space and how we can move forward.
Well, and I know last time we had you on Inside the Industry, we talked a lot about those changes in the cuts from UHC, which is so frustrating, but also the importance of making your voice heard and advocating for yourself. So how have you really found a space to do that for different causes that have been meaningful for you through the state and federal chapters?
Yep.
Or state and local and federal chapters, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, it's all a relationship world
Yeah.
that we live in. And so I have just really worked hard to make sure that if anything comes up that I think is really important that we're discussing or that we have a voice on, I just kind of put myself in the middle of it. Typically, though, you do have some sort of a lobbyist or somebody that is also kind of looking out for you. So like for NABIP, we actually have a lobbyist that we work with that kind of gives us a heads up, hey, this hearing's coming up, or we know this is something that they're going to be working on this session, and so we can start to have those conversations. And the same with NFIBs, making sure that you have that. Now, building those relationships over time, people just get to know you, and then you become your industry expert. They just reach out to you because they know that you're not coming from a place that, commissions, we need to get paid. Like I have to be able to pay my employees. I have to be able to make sure that, I'm here for a year, 10 years, 20 years down the road, that we've got people supporting. But we also just need to make sure that they recognize the challenges that are happening for our members. We have to advocate on behalf of those clients that really don't have the ability to advocate on their own. And again, I just want to remind people, these are just normal people in our communities. They're just like us. They're trying to figure out, like, how do I fully understand this? Where do I go for my information? Make yourself that person. Start to ask right now. Outside of session, opportunities are the best. Ask your representative, your senator, for coffee. I can guarantee there's going to be opportunities for you to just sit down and have a conversation and make sure that they recognize that you are a true professional and that you have knowledge and information that you can share to help them as they do start to look at legislative issues.
Yeah, things aren't going to change unless we start advocating for it. And when you're a health insurance agent, that is the best person to advocate for health changes. I, as a consumer of health insurance, can say certain things, but I am not even as equipped to talk about it as you all are, because you know all the ins and outs. So finding those ways, whether you're a brand new person in the industry, whether you've been an agent for 10 days or 10, 20, 30, 40 years, I think it's really crucial to know those places where you can make your voice heard so that you can help be a part of that change, because otherwise no change is ever going to happen.
Right. That's so true. So within, if you happen to be part of NABIP, there are opportunities. So like in the state of Iowa, we have a government relations committee. We have an actual, group of people that are coming together, and we're trying to decide, okay, what are we doing outside of the session? What is going to be our main focus going into the session this next year? How do we start to have conversations with the insurance division, with the governor's office, all of that. But we always are looking for committee members and people to be involved, because like I mentioned, stories and testimonials are the most important thing. So you don't have to know and understand exactly. You don't have to be the expert, in that industry, but man, a powerful story sitting down and just explaining how certain regulations are impacting you every day, and whether it be you in the Medicare space or you and your employees at an employer group, all of that stuff is really important for them to know and understand.
Oh yeah, and then you as an agent can take that back to your clients to better relay what is happening and why it's happening. There are a lot of things in the insurance industry that are frustrating and hard and really hard to understand for consumers. And the more you can break it down to help them understand, the better those relationships are going to be, the better your retention is going to be. And at the end of the year, it's just going to be better for your agency because you were able to supplement your knowledge. I mean, uplines and carriers can provide a lot of great insight and expertise in different pieces, but having that time with other agents, even though they are, quote unquote, your competition, having that time with other agents is really where you're going to build your knowledge to make impacts for your clients.
Yep. Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because when I first came in, I've been doing this for 25 years, so it's been a long time that I've been in this industry. But when I first got into NABIP, I did think it was weird. I'm like, I'm sitting here in a meeting with all my competitors. However, I have made the best friends from this association. Like my business partner, Tracy, I met through NABIP. And so had I not had that opportunity, we would not have come together. And guess what? Our families are close. Our kids are close. It's just been more than work for me. And so I think ultimately it's our job to make sure that we're educated. We have to make sure that we are being professional and that we are doing everything that we can to represent agents and brokers in the best light possible. That falls on you as an individual to make sure that you're doing that. And when you get involved with any sort of, professional industry association like NABIP or NFIB or NAIFA, or there's so many other ones out there, then that shows people that you're willing to work hard to make sure that you are learning and keeping up, and that you know what's going on and you have a pulse on things within your community. And I think that really just speaks volumes. Now, pre-Affordable Care Act, you probably could just skate and, I remember it pretty vividly. Wellmark had like over 100 plans. I knew those plans. Like, they never changed from year to year. I could tell you the majority of them, how they worked, all of that. Now it's like every single year, new plans, new information coming out. I don't know how anybody survives in this environment without being a part of some sort of professional organization to help them to stay up on everything that's happening. So again, parkour and adaptability and all of those things, agents are so strong, and we really do have these superpowers to help people in our communities and our families and our friends. And so whatever we can do to really help, that is, that's the best. So
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be NABIP. It doesn't have to be
No.
NAIFA. Whatever makes sense for your agency and whatever your local chapter is, start there, then build.
Yes.
That's the best way to do it.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks for the conversation, Marcie.
Thank you, Allison. Have a good day.